Hi, my name is Rishi Satpar. I'm a senior consultant at Altius, now part of Avanade. I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MVP, and I'm one of the co-founders of Learn Data Insights, a fun and engaging way for you to learn Power BI, Excel, and Python. In this video, I wanted to give you an overview of the functionality of the site and let you know how you can use it to maximize your learning journey. We start with the homepage. There's a brief explainer video which will give you a very high-level overview as to what the site is all about. And here we also have links to our social media channels, such as YouTube, where this video is posted, and where we'll also regularly post videos on content on Power BI, Excel, and Python topics. Underneath this, there are links to the main content areas of the site, so the how-to topics and the quizzes for each tool, and that can be accessed either here or via the navigation menu at the top. And underneath, at the bottom of the homepage, there's a link to log in, and you'll need to log in order to take quizzes. There's a link to contact us if you have any questions or if you spot an error in any of the content. And there's also a featured report section. And this is something I'll cover in more detail in a separate video. It's currently looking at how you can build an income statement in Power BI. The how-to topics for each tool all have a slightly different level of detail and a slightly different style. And this is based around the most common familiarity that we see with each tool, as well as the level of knowledge that we feel you need to be most proficient in it. With Excel as an example, everyone knows how to use Excel and everyone uses it on a regular basis, but there's good practice ways of doing things. There are some ways which are efficient and some ways which are less efficient. So the focus on this is really on looking at those good practice ways of using Excel and on exercises, on trying it out, rather than on details around how the Excel functionality works. So if we have a look at the Excel how-to, we can see that there's 6 different categories and about 50 topics of how to do particular things in Excel split across those category areas. If we pick one of those, let's say tables, using tables to manage your data, and then we can click on that and we can see the structure of a how-to topic in Excel. So there's collapsible sections, and the first section is an example workbook. And here you can see an Excel workbook that you can view and interact with directly in the site. So you can go into here and start typing into these cells. And you can also click on the link here to download it. So feel free to go in and download this workbook, and that will bring it onto your local machine and you can open it in Excel desktop. And this Excel example workbook is used throughout the topic to reference as a reference example. It's a data set. So then the rest of the topic is in collapsible sections where it explains how to do this activity. Then after that, there's a try it out, which uses that example workbook to give you an exercise to try an activity and test your knowledge of how you've of the concepts that we covered in this topic. And then underneath that, there's an answers workbook where it will take that example workbook, have the steps in the try out exercise apply to it, and you can then again see this workbook. Again, you can also interact with it here, or you can download it to your machine and open it in Excel. With Power BI, we start with example reports, and these are mostly community examples that I've built for the Power BI technical community to learn from. So for all of these example reports, again, they're in expandable sections, and we can open up each one. We have a description of the report, we have the report embedded within the site, and a link to take you to where it is hosted in the data stories gallery, so just as published to web examples. There's also where there's other material that shows how the solution was developed or some of the concepts in there. Those are also links to those material in the same section. And underneath it, there's a link to be able to download a zip file that contains the PBICs and any other supporting material. And this is really one of the best ways to learn Power BI, to use some of these examples and pick them apart. So do feel free to download them, and especially with some of the advanced modeling and visualization techniques, which I've tried to build out in these reports. Have a look at them and feel free to ask if you have any questions. The rest of the topics in the Power BI how-to are also broken down into categories such as data modeling and DAX. And if we go into one of these, say we go into data modeling, you'll see that the topics here are much more detailed than compared to the Excel or the Python ones. And this is intentional because I work with Power BI every day, I work with Power BI developers every day, and I learned it myself from scratch only a few years ago. And based on that experience, what I see is the knowledge that will help Power BI developers the most is some of those fundamental in-depth principles of business intelligence and data visualization. So I've taken the effort here to really try and explain those in details. Each how-to topic is almost like a chapter of a book, but hopefully more digestible. We can see that it's broken down. There is a lot of text in these topics, but it's broken down into collapsible sections. And in those sections, we have text and then slides and also animated GIFs to be able to show the actions in real life, and also links to other websites for contextual and background information. Python has become the programming language of the decade, so to not learn it would be to miss out on career opportunities as well as fun. It's a really fun language to learn. So Python how-to, we start with the basics of Python and then move on to Pandas, a library which allows you to really explore the data analytics capabilities within the language. And it's based on real-life data sets that you can use to explore the data. And the focus on these how-to topics is really about trying out writing code and looking at how the syntax looks and works, and looking at how it works in a real environment. So you'll see lots of embedded code windows in here, lots of examples for you to be able to run scripts and for you to write your own scripts and then run them straight away and see the outputs. So we can see here in all of these exercises, there's some scripts here which you can click run and see the outputs off, and you can also type your own script into these windows and then press run and see the outputs of everything. So based on the learnings and the topics, this is a good way for you to be able to try out those things in Python. And that's really the emphasis here. So not so much on the concepts of object-oriented programming, but on trying it out yourself. The quizzes in Learn Data Insights have been the most popular feature since we've launched it, and they're the real highlight of the site. But when you first go to quizzes, it asks you to log in. And the reason for this is because we want to provide the functionality for you to be able to track your progress over time and for you to be able to bench your results against people with a similar experience or skill level or people in the same country. So when you go to quizzes, it will ask you to log in, and to do that, the login process is quite simple. We click on login in the top right hand corner. We're presented with a screen that has a box and everything else grayed out. And when we select this box, then it will highlight then the text. This is a link to the privacy policy, which is very important to read to understand how your data is being used. And then once we've read that and we accept the terms, then we can choose to sign in either using LinkedIn, Google or Microsoft. And I'll click here on LinkedIn, so any of these free accounts you can use to log into the site. And if you've already logged in another tab, then it will sign you in automatically. But here I can go in, put my details in, and then it will log me in to LDI. So there's no separate accounts. You don't need a separate username and password. You just use one of your existing credentials. If this is the first time that you're coming to the site, you'll need to fill in these profile fields. So things like your level of experience and skill with the various tools, which will then be used for the benchmarking. And once that's done, you've then created your profile. You can then next time log in, you won't have to fill in these details again. And now we can go in and take quizzes. Now let's go in to take a quiz. So let's say we go to quizzes, Power BI, and let's pick, say, data modeling as a quiz. It starts with a splash screen, which tells you about how the quiz format works. So there are 10 questions out of an ever-growing bank of questions. So each time you take this quiz, there will be some different questions, so it won't be the same every time. Click on next, and it asks you for your email address. And it's important that you use the same email address that you use to log into the site. So whether that's the email associated with your Google, your LinkedIn or Microsoft account. And that's to be able to then enable that benchmarking and tracking of progress over time. And also, once you put your email address in here, the quiz results will be emailed to you straight after you've taken the quiz. So you'll get that detailed feedback and that record of your quiz attempt. Clicking on next, now we can see the quiz questions themselves, and there's lots of different types of quiz questions. So some are multiple choice, some are true or false, some are fill in the blanks or matching pairs. And once we submit an answer to a quiz question, you get immediate feedback as to whether it was correct or incorrect. And when it's incorrect, or sometimes even if it's correct, you'll get some detailed feedback on what the right answer was and why that was the right answer. With links to either the topics in LearnData Insights or to external materials such as Microsoft Docs. So that detailed feedback you'll get from each question, and then once you've got through all of the questions of the quiz, you can go back and review all your questions, and then once you finish the quiz, all of those responses, so the quiz questions, your answer, the correct answer, and the feedback will be emailed to you, so you can go back and review that at your own pace. So that's all of the key content on the site, and remember that all of the content, all the how-to topics and all the quizzes are completely free to use. The site will be continuously updated with new content, and if you want to get notified of when this new content gets released, then go to your profile, or for the first time when you're filling this in, and scroll down to where it says receive notifications, and make sure that you've selected at least one tool here, and then you'll get notified of new content. We'll also send out a newsletter with some regular events and information on resources to help you with your learning journey. But don't worry, we won't contact you more than once a month, and we'll make sure we keep your data secure. So what's next? Well, give us some feedback on the site. Let us know how you're finding it. You can contact us at the bottom of the homepage. If we scroll down to the bottom there, there's a link of the button there to contact us. So please let us know if you have any suggestions or comments, or if you spotted an error in any of the content on the site. Make sure you also subscribe to this YouTube channel, and we'll post regular videos on topic areas within Power BI, Excel and Python, which will really help with the learning journey. Thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoy using LearnData Insights.